Are you tired of constantly hearing the phrase, please like and subscribe? Just as a laptop should not be set directly on the lap or the Federal Reserve is not federal, social media is not social, and it's really just self-marketing. And we know the main reason it's essentially given away freely is that the users of it, as evident by the fact that you often have to sign into it, and to use a marketing zombie apocalypse word, to be supposed consumers of it, are its product. Getting traffic for content online is not determined by its quality, and certainly not by its depth, but by, well, frankly, either its overt or covert ability to sell sex, and its ability for marketing appeal. 9 out of 10 times, content will have more high traffic when its creator is a marketer first, and then a content creator second. If one seeks assistance in getting more traffic on their content, the consistent thing they live marketing shallows will tell them is that they need to pour more time into it. So someone's life essentially must become tube-faced Insta-talk. They will also tell you to constantly remind your audience to engage with and follow your stuff. Why? So that it has more supposed marketability. In an age headed towards cyberpunk, where algorithms engage, monetize, quantify, and track every like, share, and subscription, craving our engagement does not recognize us as persons, but more as patterns. They reduce us to tendencies, habits, and click-through rates. Media platforms profit from our interactions, not just financially through data mining and ads, but by shaping a public opinion and behavior. Liking and subscribing gives them loads to data mine on your end, and often also leads to an ever-expanding flood of content tailored to perceived interests. This feedback loop can result in overstimulation, distraction, and a kind of mental clutter. By resisting providing data to this impulse, we preserve the richness of ambiguity and reclaim the right to withhold, stamping it with premature approval. At its core, social media trains us in a somewhat moral shorthand. This is good, this is bad, this is follow-worthy, this is forgettable. We recommend the book The Anxious Generation on how toxic the thumbs up has become to young people when posting content online. And even the creators of it have come to regret it, and the main reason it's still going is for data mining purposes. As we mature, we do not seek as much attention and are so not bound by its loss. Likes also become an inaccurate proxy for judgment, making browsers think something is of higher quality because it may have more of them, even when often manipulated by bot armies. We had a teacher who once said there's no reason to like anything. You can always go to it without having to like or subscribe to it. Every time you do it, you micro-help the creator, but you also could be said to micro-hurt yourself. Constructive and proactive comments are better anyway, like in a university hall, encouraging social interaction. So socials can be used more consciously, and in that case, get people talking with one another and thus socializing. Subscriptions can also fill a constant funnel, leading to a lack of new information and a tethering of the self to a stream of content that assumes their identity is stable, their interests are fixed, and their affinities are monetizable. But the self is not static. It evolves, it contradicts, it questions. But not necessarily signaling constant interest, we give ourselves the chance to encounter ideas and creators on our own terms, rather than having them relentlessly served up by algorithms designed to keep us scrolling. To not subscribe is to honor more fluidity, to remain open to surprise, and to let the unknown visit uninvited, to step outside the rhythm of digital affirmation, to dwell instead in uncertain spaces between reaction and reflection. In a world governed by immediacy, where content is validated not by its truth but by its traction, choosing not to engage becomes an act not merely of digital discipline but philosophical significance. Micro non-participating can send a message, however small, that we are not just passive users but more conscious participants. And there is a quiet, almost metaphysical rebellion in refusing to do so. Choosing not to engage, to decline, becomes less a data point and legible to the machine. There is a dignity in asserting that we are not merely consumers of the information, but contemplative beings capable of existing outside an economy of constant feedback. While not really social media thrives on interaction, withholding those tiny digital gestures offers benefits that go beyond mere indifference. Fostering more authentic relationships with content, creating more digital autonomy, not allowing for complex experiences to be collapsed, and disrupting the machinery of algorithmic manipulation. It is an opportunity to practice discipline and inner clarity. In a world where endless opinions clamor for affirmation and identity is measured in metrics, the choice to not engage as much is an act of deliberate resistance, a refusal to let the outside world govern the inner life. To tread lightly within giving them minimal data is to not disappear, but to inhabit a digital world of somewhat inwardness. Virtue is not performed outwardly for applause, but cultivated inwardly through self-awareness and detachment from externals. Interactive media thrives on externals: reputation, validation, attention. It flatters the ego and inflames discursiveness, meaning the inability to focus on one thing for an extended period of time. This is why, in modernity, teaching a broccoli-haired, mop-headed, zit-faced teenage dweeb who grew up staring at screens, hardly ever cracking a dense book, and instead only pecking at and heavily engaging with feeds, to meditate is a very difficult task. A philosopher in ancient Rome, before the empire destroyed itself there, once said all you need is a garden and a library. So if you use the online world as a research tool in a very minimal fashion, that isn't about cynicism or disengagement. It's about being more mindful. It's about consuming media without being consumed by it. In an environment that constantly asks for your approval, silence can be a form of freedom. Marcus Aurelius, surrounded by noise and that empire, reminded himself daily, you have the power over your own mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength. In a digital node grid filled with clamor, the refusal to always engage becomes a way of walking silently through the marketplace, untouched by potential seductions.